theme music. Here.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Nonsensus. Welcome to the Nonsensus. I'm Zachary Winchester, and I have COVID currently. Hi, Sanj. How about
Hello, Zachary. I'm doing fine. How are you doing? Except for the COVID aspect.
you? I'm grateful for a lot of really good things in the world and my personal experience. And I have COVID. That kind of sucks. But I was vaccinated, and that is seems abundantly obviously why I'm having a very, very mild case comparatively. And
All right.
glad about that.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, if you wanted to discuss more about COVID, we could do that too. Yeah.
Well, yeah, let's go into it. I am observing that this is a time for a lot of humans is their first interaction in life with something that is a collective experience that they that you kind of have to care about, or like you have to course correct. You got to make some hard decisions. Eric Weinstein said that it's the big sleep was is that the phrase that he says for the years between the atomic bomb and COVID, like pretty much no global problems that has everybody needing to be really as alarmed. I am a bit brain foggy right the fuck now. Hmm.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. I'm hyperactive at the moment, so we're on the same frequency, somewhat.
Yeah, I really hope this isn't my new normal. The state that I'm in. I hope this goes away.
Oh, this will go away with time, I suppose. I think we're headed towards a time which is quite chaotic. I mean, it's been 2 years of almost 2 years of this thing. And now with the new, alpha variant, delta stem variant, South African
There's an
variant,
alpha too. I wasn't keeping track of the alpha. What's the alpha doing?
not studied that much about alpha, unfortunately, because I was looking into delta yesterday, and I found out that apparently Pfizer vaccines are more effective. So you know how there's Pfizer, AstraZeneca, J&J, and then Oxford one,
I had
AstraZeneca
I had
Oxford one.
I I had the Pfizer.
Yeah, then I think you should be good. Because Pfizer seems to be at least 95% effective, as far as I've read on the Lancet. But it is quite crazy that people who have been vaccinated with Pfizer or Moderna are also still getting COVID. So I guess that's the most mind-boggling crisis we're facing right now, is to, like, if we do have vaccines and if we can use them, but we're still getting the virus, how do we deal with the situation now?
It was always gonna be a real fuckaroo of a crisis. I remember right at the beginning of it when people were broadcasting, like you get to like Sam Harris was the first famous person that I knew that was making any kind of alarm about it. Um, and 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 there are still people in America. America's a really tricky place with getting people to believe stuff. Uh, that's a whole that. But there are still a few people I observe that do not um, think it's real, that have not had their snap to reality uh, experience.
Oh yeah, there's so many people that think that COVID is a hoax again, which is a problem towards the entire civilization itself because I mean, this is something that I've been noticing, right? Like one of the aspects as to how our society functions is that we actually function on disruption. Like there's always polar opposites in the society upon which, we're functioning. Like there's one side which is rational, and then there's another which would always oppose it. So how a famous example that I would always give, back in March 2020, when the thing escalated, right? March 15th, I guess, most importantly, when airports started getting shut down. There were millions of people dying, at least in the Europe. There was chaos, and people were excessively tweeting on social media or across all kind of social media that we need vaccines, where are the scientists, we need rapid science to come through. And then when we finally got the vaccines, there were a group of people called anti-vaxxers who were like, no, we're not going to take the vaccine now because it's going to do this XYZ thanks to us, either in long term or short term. And so because of that, most of the people are getting, COVID, suffering through it and dying, just because they are deluded to the fact that vaccine actually might end up helping them. And so, you see this two opposing sides, two disrupting sides, and yet the society functions. So I feel like one of the ways our society functions is literally upon disruption.
When you said our society there, and that was a trippy thing for me. You're in India right now. We're how long were you in Tel Aviv?
More or less like 10, 11 months. Yeah. But like 3 years in total for my graduation and like study and stuff.
So when you say our society, you mean we got a global society thing going here.
Yes, a global society. Yes.
I I I would I would like to think so. Well, the reality that there's definitely a reality of that. I think it would help a lot for there to be more a feeling of of the we there. I think it's pretty clear that that's like our failings with dealing with the pandemic is that or I mean to put it more rosier, something that we could correct for the future is like next time we'll be more of a global community, and the cooperation is that's what makes us humans. We cooperate. Um,
True. I mean, that's one of the things that happened during COVID, right? Like, we saw a lot of people, even though there was so much disruption, coming together, helping each other out. Like, at least last year, as to what I noticed, people at first they were chaos, there was panic. You know how there were people just, like buying crazily everything, all the essential goods as much as possible. But then we also saw an element, at least when I was here in India during for 7 months when the lockdown was happening. I saw my neighbors helping out, even though they were, like keep distance, they would leave, stuff outside your apartment if you need it. And like there was some sort of cooperation from distance. So yeah, there was a good element to it in the sense that we would have better relationships, but from a distance. We saw that. And then there was also, oh, stay away from me. So, again, two polar opposite sides. But I think there was some good too that came out of COVID. I think people became very self aware, very helpful, very genuinely generous and polite. At least those who got COVID and actually came out of it and realized how severe it is, you know.
I've gotten lots of well wishes since I and 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 people have their stories of when they so it's interesting that my being a breakthrough case of like I wonder how much different my experience is from someone getting original good old fashioned 2020 COVID, um uh when there weren't vaccines, um because like right now, like the way I would describe it is I'm at no point have I been like significantly like there's a moment of significant agony. Like there isn't that. It's just that there's a period of time like this sucks. It definitely sucks. I would definitely like this the sensation in my head, um,
Mhm.
and just kind of like there's just this. It's very aware that you're flooded with a fucking creature that's trying to replicate, that's trying to take over. I mean, it's a fight.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like a parasitic situation almost. I mean, you're right. Like those people who did not have vaccines at the moment and were dying. Like I remember on March 15th, I was almost in four different international airports because I was doing like an Erasmus exchange program in Prague. And I remember walking into my room and one day, just randomly, and my roommate was like, "Oh, there's a virus on the loose." And I was like, "What?" And then I looked up, and like all these news, people dying in Italy, possible closures of Czech Republic, and I got into this panic mode, like automatically, and I was like, "Okay, I need to leave this Europe right now because Europe seems pretty bad." And so I took a flight all the way to Tel Aviv, thinking that, okay, I can go there and just finish my semester there and not do the Erasmus exchange anymore. But as soon as I got to the Tel Aviv airport, apparently on air, Netanyahu announced that we're not going to let anyone in except citizens. So I got stuck at the airport for like 3 hours and more. And it felt like I was in a detention center, honestly, because there was so many people sitting, expecting that we could get in. And it is quite unfortunate that when you're on air and something is being announced and when you land, of course, we're unaware as to what laws are being passed when you're flying, right? And so when I landed, I was like, this is very unfair that you would let people who just were in the air not in. I mean, let the flights that have just landed, let those people in. But they were very strict about it because Israeli security is generally very strict. And so then I had to take another flight to go all the way to Mumbai. And so Mumbai was again also very chaotic. They were very scared of all the international people coming in because at that time in India there were cases, but not to that larger extent. It was kind of controlled, and this is like March, April 2020. It was just happening. It was just starting, and I realized like during those four different airports, I did not even have a mask because I just got to know about this COVID virus and everything. And I thought, dude, I was done. I was like, okay, I'm definitely getting COVID. And by the reports that I'm reading, possibly I'm going to die. And I remember coming back and they told me to quarantine for 14 days. And I quarantined for 14 days and I had like sore throat and some cold. And I thought, okay, this is it. This is probably COVID. And I went to the hospital. They said that because you jumped from -3 degrees in Prague to 30 degrees here in India, it's possibly because of that exchange that you might be feeding these things. But I was still very skeptical. And so one day I just woke up and I was fine. But during those days when I was feeling these sore throat and like weakness in my muscles and like just generally ill, I thought I was gonna die. I was prepared. I even wrote down like letters to my friends, family, in case anything happens. It was just too dramatic, I would say. But then I woke up and I was fine, and but after that I guess incident, I guess I kind of overcame the idea of death to a certain degree because I just like reflected so much during those days. And I guess one of the things that actually help you overcome death is also psychedelics, right? Like if you enter those ego death stages with higher doses, um, you it's as if you die and you come back. And so I feel like with my safe use of psychedelics and this experience, I feel more content with the idea of death. Like if I were to die tomorrow, I would be happily dying, like because I feel like I've reflected enough. So that's something positive that came out of COVID situation, at least for me.
I mean, anything that makes you that makes us look at something, then it's like then that's information gained, and that's there are rabbit holes. There are like rabbits that I wish I could put back in the box of certain things that I wish I'd never investigated at all in my life. But it's all part of the grand totality of what the everything experience is. Um, and here we are. And I want to
True,
get right
here we
into
are.
death and psychedelics. Uh, than to talk about COVID the entire time, because it's such a uh, unique moment of it in America, particularly. I think that it's gonna be really, really difficult to get people to rein it in. If there is a need for any more shutdowns, it's gonna be really fucking difficult with these folks around here to tell them that. But it's it really does look to me like this is the point where we're having the highest caution, like just practices wise, is 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 most important of the entire pandemic. I mean, 60% more catching the Delta. Is that 60% more? Like that that's a big number. That like it can go off like a fucking bomb.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
But oh yeah, but I wanted to get into death and psychedelics. So I want to talk about something I'm like I want to feel the 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 rapturousness of being most interested in what I'm talking about, other than the thing that the pandemic is. It's like we must talk about this right now because this is what is happening to our goddamn lives. But yeah, the an experience of thinking that you were gonna die. I think I think that's a character building thing to have. And do you do you, is what's your answer to that question? What do you think happens when we die, Sanjana?
Wow, that's a really good one. That's a really important question. Okay, so in one of my high dose LSD experiences, right, when I witnessed the white light, the Bardo clear light, and it actually happened in this area space, right? So imagine if this wasn't here. I was lying down and I was just staring at the ceiling, and the ceiling was white, so the ceiling was actually acting as if it was a green screen, right? And everything was white for a second, like for 3 hours. It felt like 3 hours because of the time distortion that psychedelics does to you. And during that moment, I would revisit my past moments where I hadn't realized or truly actualized the essence of those moments. Like me being in nature and just walking around, but not looking at trees or anything, just like lost in my own thoughts or talking to friends. But when I was in that state, I would revisit those moments and I would actualize, oh, wow, I was in this beautiful area and birds were flying and I did not notice that. But with the psychedelic experience, I'm able to somehow access those past moments and actualize them. And so that happened for a couple times. So it was like it was very trippy, right? Because you're going back to the past, then you come back again, and then you see the white light. And during those three, what felt like 3 hours, and I asked my brother too as to how many hours was it that I was gone, and he said around 2 to 4 hours. And I remember looking at the white light, and for a second I thought this might be death, and apparently a lot of people who go through near death experiences also see this white border light, this white clear light. So what happens after that is always going to remain a mystery. But I feel like there's so many information that says that your brain is active for 7 more minutes after you die, and so I don't know what happens during those 7 more moments because I haven't been in that situation. But maybe those active 7 moments of your brain either replays all your memories or something happens there. But what happens after you die is such a question, because I mean, if you look at culture and history, people would say reincarnation, heaven, hell, and all of these concepts. But honestly, what I truly think, is that we have this one life, we live it, we have no idea what happens next, and so to live it to the fullest, and when we reach that point of clear light, we fully accept it, and whatever happens next, because I've thought about this question as to, would I go to hell, would I go to heaven? And these thoughts come because of, religious and cultural upbringing, because how your parents tell you good deeds, good words, and stuff like that, that you should, and then there's a aspect of karma also that comes into play. So I think we either there's reincarnation, which I'm very doubtful of, or we just disappear, and that would be my answer, because it's such a mysterious question. It's a question I think I'll be contemplating my whole life. And so the moment I reach that clear light, maybe that's the way the key would be unlocked and I would know the answer to the mystery.
Clear light. I don't think I always think of what says that we think that when we die, we're going to be locked in a black box forever, and just kind of have to undergo that. Um, that it seems to me more that there would be an everything that, because what it seems to me, what the deal is with being mortal, with being alive, is that awareness is, we're having a parochial experience, we're having an experience that there's a whole lot of everything, and our instrument is this human that we got, and there's a lot of limitations going on there, um and then and you can just what I've experienced in meditation and with psychedelics, like there is a lot of possible experience, and I don't know what the hell I mean when I say real anymore, or I capitalize the R in reality, and I wish people happy reality, and I talk about reality a lot, but I don't know what the fuck I mean by what is real as opposed to what is an experience. I don't. But an important thing is happening now for us as experiencers who are fellow travelers on this planet of Earth, is uh, I think it behooves us to figure out the the manner of the game that we are playing. It would be good if everybody had a had some, and I think it would be really, really lovely at this time, and I would like to be a part of the effort to help with put common mythologies out there, uh, put out new options of a common mythology, because it does seem like us as like concept monkeys, like we do I do see that we, if you don't pick a religion, then you end up having an experience of uh it's good to have a North Star. It's like it's really helpful to have a North Star, even if you don't like believe in it like piously. It's just it's psychologically, it seems like it's part of the makeup of a good life to have something like a North Star.
Hmm.
What
And how would you describe the North Star exactly?
I mean, it used to be Jesus for me. I like I yeah, I was given the Jesus thing, but lightly as a kid. Like I was it was never I'm very grateful that my parents were not ideologues about anything. They were not zealous about anything. And I'm so grateful because, oh God, I just, not to be like, oh God, some of my friends are so traumatized, but like when you have two one or both parents that is really fixated on some idea, some phantom. Fuck, that's hard to shake. That 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 leaves a mark. And I'm really glad I didn't have that. I didn't have. They were really casual about like, yep, yeah. So we're going to this like Christian school, and then we got out of that and got secularized by. It's funny. My dad was raised with Judaism, and was bar mitzvahed and everything, and but met my mom and was like, oh, I don't really care about any of that. He just was never. Yeah, he's not. He's not a he's not an ideologue. He's not super attached to an idea thing of any sort. I think that's a good way to be. I've seen problems with with that, but I see the benefit, and I would like to help with a new North Star. I think that it's like time to write a new constitution for the human mind. Like I think we're we're at a different epoch now. We're coming up on some different stuff with AI and and just what technology is going to be like. We might not need yeah, there's some paradigm shifting that is fucking happening. We're gonna need some psychological help with that, and a North Star would be helpful. Do you have a North Star?
That's really beautiful idea that you say North Star. I feel like North Star might be your archetype of some sort of either entity, being, sentience that you see, that you feel hopeful towards or you look up to, right? Um, the North Star here could be an archetype for that. Do I have a North Star? I don't think so, because I feel like I've just become so um pseudo mystical but also empirically minded in a very 50-50 ratio that's very hard for me sometimes to question exactly what this North Star would be for me, you know. um, and this whole concept that you talked about, we need new institutions, you're completely right, you know. I mean, one of the problems with Christianity in the past, or any other religion, was this whole institutionalization of religion. I mean, religion in itself is such a good thing, right? I mean, it always teaches you positive things. I've never seen any religion say anything bad or dedicate anything bad, or, you know, stuff like that. But it is the interpretation and the oral tradition of texts and the institutionalization at a very larger extent that has made this entire thing just chaotic and unbearable for people. I mean, you were talking about, you know, what's reality. I think I conform to Jacques Lacan, who was a French psychoanalyst. He created this triad, and within this triad, he had this thing called the real, and he would define this real as the intolerable reality that we live in. Intolerable because we have
Mm.
and deaths and you know, just disruption within society itself. And so we do need new institutions. I mean, the other day I was reading Soren Kierkegaard's just work in general, and I realized that he talked about this thing called pietism, which is like non-institutionalized way of conforming to a religion, because he thought that, you know, Christianity and all of these principles that Christianity was teaching was being misinterpreted or heavily embedded within the minds through the institutionalization. I mean, what did the church do during the Enlightenment period? They killed scientists, they killed rationality, they tried as hard as possible to suppress any kind of rationality or any kind of new truths or actually objective truths that would come out, right? And so I feel like we in 2021, and the trajectory that we're on, I mean, most of the people now are atheists, simply because of this institutional thing. I mean, if churches did not have that much power over government or over, just regimes in general in the past, maybe people would have taken religion much more lightly and much more positively. And maybe, like these hardcore religions, and what I mean by hardcore religions is where you idealize an entity or worship an entity. So, like in Hinduism, you have gods. In Christianity, you would look up to Jesus as the Son of God. In, like all across religions, in Islam, it's Allah, right? Um, all of these Abrahamic religions. But I feel like if it wasn't institutionalized, from the Constantinople times, uh, people would have really taken those lessons that Jesus delivered or any prophet delivered lightly and actually established them. So what we see now is that most people you see are spiritual rather than religious. Why is that? I feel like it is because of the, heavy institutionalization of religion and heavy, like you have to follow these principles, you have to follow these rules. And so people people just shifted to Buddhism and more spiritual ideas because they're more light. They don't they don't tell you, oh, you have to wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning to do the prayer, and stuff like that. That it's more of a mindfulness thing, that you have to feel spiritual, you have to feel grateful, and you can meditate anytime you want. You can go to a monastery, spend like a month with the monks in the Himalayas or in any other region in the world, in Tibet, and just positive energy with some sort of discipline. I think that's better now. And that's why I see more and more interest in within myself toward more spiritual ideas rather than more hardcore religious ideas. And I would blame the institutionalization of religion heavily for that.
I'm not sure what we mean when we say spirit. Um, like have sometimes I think that I have not had uh, psychedelic plant medicine experiences. Like my world does not happen a lot with a personified entity thing communing and communicating with me. Um, that does not happen often. Um, and for some people, that's like the whole mode. And um, and then the idea of like I don't know anymore what I mean. I mean, a big I wonder if it would help me to try to have more that I know in this world, because my I don't know-ness is it I I like the amount of mystery that I experience, but um maybe having a clearer North Star would be good, like reading *Sapiens* and knowing that we've always been doing that. Like we've always have had to have you know, uh, we're concept monkeys, and we like rely on stories. Like what is my story? Um, can I? But it feels like a big commitment to choose one. Buddhism has helped my life a ton. I really,
Mhm.
really, really, really appreciate have and having that as a wellspring of a place to go when I need when I'm looking for that wisdom. But yeah, I don't think having I don't think we're gonna do the strict religion thing anymore. It looks clear to me that the world is like in its death throes of keeping people. I'm gonna blame this on the brain fog right now. I feel fucking stupid right now.
You're not stupid. You're making a lot of sense. I mean, you're questioning all the questions that any human being would question on a very daily basis. I mean, what is the spirit? What are the mysteries that we have to unlock? I mean, I'm a thinking being by essence. One of my, I guess, good things and the bad things is this condition of thinking excessively about all these mysterious things, right? And so you asked, what is the spirit like? And then we have questions like, what is the soul? What is the self? What is the psyche? What is the mind? And so many psychologists, so many philosophers, scientists, they all have different explanations for it. At the end of the day, we all look for that just one explanation that we need. We have so many different explanations, but we need only that one satisfactory explanation to tell us so that we can finally unlock that mystery and be content with, whatever is happening right now. Like, it is crazy to imagine. Like, I remember being 7 years old and being like, okay, what is this? Why am I here? What is this body? Why is this environment? Like, why am I here? I would often like question, like, what is going on? Like, and growing up just reading a lot of philosophers or thinkers or just even fiction books, I realized that everyone has different conceptions of what is going on, but we don't have this one example, like just one objective truth that can just satisfy millions and billions of people and give them some sort of rest to their psyche. But I think that is the human condition, right? To always question, to always try to understand as to what the fuck's going on around us, try to understand what's happening inside our mind. So, what is the spirit? What is the soul? It's such a philosophical thing, because within philosophy, people would say it's the soul, and within psychology, people would argue it's the mind. And that's our consciousness in general. And I feel like the spirit is like, at least to me, it seems like an illusion, a mystical illusion. That if you believe in mystical and esoteric stuff, then you would put more emphasis on the spirit rather than on the mind itself. And if you're a scientist, you would say it's consciousness, and you would often question, okay, what's happening within our consciousness? Is consciousness everywhere? Is consciousness only limited to our neuronal networks? Or what is happening there? So for me, I feel like um, uh, the philosophical soul is somehow tied with the mind itself in a way that affects both our human behavior and human interaction and personal relationships that we have with our environment and others. So again, a mystical question to answer. Um, so I mean, I would say that the philosophical soul is just sentience, pure being that gives life to this mechanistic body, this biological body that we have. Um, but again, it is also the mind, right? And it is also the brain that is operating this mechanistic biological system that we have. So again, two questions. I mean, not to be a pure dualist or anything, but sometimes I see things in two polar ways, and it's hard to grasp it. It's hard to like pin down one exact meaning for the spirit. I mean, you could go and read Friedrich Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit and try to understand what he means by self consciousness and spirit. Or you could go read Freud and try to understand what is the map or topology of our psyche. Like, what is the ego, what is the id, what is the superego, and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you as a human have to conclude for yourself as to what is happening to you. I've realized that us as academics or us as human beings, we read so much on a daily basis that we forget to think for ourselves as to what's happening. And so I think we need to revisit Rene Descartes, and actually just sit down with a pencil and a paper and just write down everything. Okay, what is happening around me? What do I feel? How do senses work? But not use anyone else's models, but create your own models. And so it also ties up to your, thing of having new institutions. The only problem we have today in this world is that we're so concentrated, or paralyzed with the history of human civilization, that we've forgotten creation itself. You know, new models need to be created. We often complain about democracy, communism, and all of these social system, political systems, but instead maybe of complaining, maybe we can create newer models, maybe we can create newer systems. Why are people not doing that? And so that's why, it also connects to when you were saying, Eric Weinstein. I think Eric Weinstein is, a good advocate for that. I think he's advocating for new institutions, new models that we actually do really need, because like these old models were functioning back in the day in those contexts, when there were wars, there were different kingdoms and stuff like that. I mean, you can sketch out the history. But now I feel like what we need is new institutions, is new creation, new terminologies, new philosophies. So at least I feel like if we need to move forward in a positive way, pure creation and authenticity coming from your own self is going to help a lot.
Yeah. It, yep. Yep. I like it helps me a lot to think when I had this model that the my contemplating of the past, like there's good thinking of the past, that's nostalgia. And but for the most part, when I think about the past, it's sad. Like that, it's like to look back is saddening. And to think forward gets anxiety inducing. So it's like at all times you have this like yeah, the past is sad, the future is scary. The present is, as long as you're in a safe room, everything's like, chill for the moment. Like the present is your is a place to be safe. Um from those. It's not the past and it's not the future. And man, I'm feeling like I'm having a experience tonight of the. But I you said that you had moments where you thought you had it before, and the placebo experience of COVID has been. I had a bunch of that before, and now I actually right now have COVID, and this moment where it's the waves of where breathing is not automatic. It's something like I must remember to goddamn. I have to like struggle. Like there's something that wants me to not be able to do that. I need to be decisively like I am goddamn staying alive. Breathing's great. Breathing's good. I did the Wim Hof, the best I ever did. It's always the best I ever have with the doing the Wim Hof. Have you experienced that, Sanjana?
No, no, no. Tell me more. Tell me more.
You haven't done any holotropic breathing or anything like that?
Yeah, I've read a lot about it, but for some reason, maybe because I grew up in the East and I saw so much of yoga and like all of these things, I guess, diverted from these ideas, like because of like just so much of it seeing
Yeah.
around me. Yeah, so I never really I have a very hard time meditating. I have a very hard time like making my mind rest. And that's why I have insomniac issues. And it's hilarious because I come from the East, I should be the master of it, or at least that's the illusion that people put on you. But I have a very hard time with holotropic breathing, meditation, and stuff like that, just because of the amount of ideas that keep running inside my head at all times. And also, you talked about nostalgia and future and the present. I have a few comments about that too. Um, like, very, very lightly speaking, I agree with somewhat of what you said, that the past, nostalgia can be painful, and the future is always anxiety provoking, but the present seems calm. The present seems that you can manipulate it and you can control it, and you can, gamify it in some way. But after these last 2 years, and the things that have happened both within civilization, our own intersubjective personal lives, I feel like I've really learned the lesson of truly embodying the present. I've really, 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 like, how people always tell you these old sayings that honesty is the best policy and like blah blah blah, and you think, okay, okay, yeah, whatever. But I feel like as I'm growing in life, as I become older, I realize that these very, very like smaller truths that were told to me in my childhood are actually so true, and are actually best to just abide by them. And that's why now I feel like when I look at nostalgia, there's two ways you can look at nostalgia, right? You can either revisit the painful memories, and that would affect your present, and again provide you future provoking anxiety, or you could revisit the actual good moments, and somehow try to embody them in the present. And that's where psychedelics come in, right? I mean, psychedelics kind of truly help you realize, and with this past, present, future, if you do get into these ego lost states, and if you're able to travel back into your memories, you're able to realize the positive aspects of nostalgia. And when you come back from the experience, you have this positive, or at least somewhat lessened anxiety provoking sense of the future. And so now I think, when I think of nostalgia, I really try hard not to think of the traumatic aspects of it. I try to think of as many good, memories as possible, so that it doesn't affect my present, and in turn doesn't affect the future. But it's an exercise. We're humans, we're entitled to go back to those painful memories. Unfortunately, that's the human condition.
Oh, a lot of lovely memories, and but I always feel that the experience of carpe diem-ing
Hmm.
is like that is an intense choice that I would need to initiate now, and that there is a momentum. That's what I feel like being in like my animal body wants me to chill and get to safety and just get things safer, safer, safer. Like always be just like prioritize uh survival. But the life that I want to have here is super adventurous. Yeah, I think it's a awesome this fucking opportunity that we've been given to be like a really adventurous group of folks. We get to fully fuck around and find out. Like we are experimenting with life in a lot of ways that where it was regimented for a long time for people. And and we get to just entirely figuring it out. And then something like this happens, though. This is a tricky moment. I gotta tell you, I don't think think I think it's about to be the roughest times are in America are now through this winter. I observe with this. Like, 'cause it always dawns on me when I'm because I'm having a very mild case. A breakthrough, was vaccinated and was still and got it, and I'm having like my experience is lessened. Like these symptoms turned up, it suck. This is bum bum. Do you have any? Do you think a lot about where like the origin of this?
The origin of COVID itself.
Yeah, do you think you have are onto any hypothesis of that?
Oh man, so many. Oh man, you have no idea. Because as I told you, right, like when I came back and I was in a state that I thought I was gonna die, I started like almost religiously going through papers both on Lancet, Science Direct, and all of these journals every day as to what is this, what is this virus, what kind of vaccines can we create, what are the origins, and back in March 15th, there were already a lot of things happening that people were blaming China for the virus and for the origin from the Wuhan lab. And I remember writing a paper in April for like this class about just like COVID and things that have happened since January, more or less. And I very strictly, wrote that it could be possible there was a lab leak, and I remember my professor came replied to me, and he was like, "That's very racist of you to say that it was a lab leak." But then again, my rationale behind saying that is that it's not that we're blaming the Chinese people for this entire situation. We're blaming China as a nation, as a governmental entity that could have possibly leaked a bioweapon via the Wuhan lab. Again, to be very careful with the terms here, China as an entity, China as a national entity, as a nation, not the Chinese people. I mean, that's something that Trump did, right? He would often say it's a Chinese virus, the Chinese virus, and again, within people's mind, people often forget that there's one thing to call China a nation, and then there's one thing to consider its population as Chinese people and blaming them for that. And now what I see is the same thing happening in India with the Delta stem variant. I remember being in Tel Aviv like a few weeks ago, and people were like, "Oh, do you have the Indian virus? Oh, you might have the Delta stem. Or are you going to give me the Delta stem?" So I kind of, like I realized what the Chinese people might have gone through those days, and it's crazy to blame the civilization as opposed to the people who have institutional power for this entire crisis. And I think again, it's a hypothesis, and because it is such a politically sensitive topic. I mean, Brett Weinstein talks about it. His YouTube channel got taken down. Censorship started happening because of all of these allegations. I don't know if it's because of the fear of China as becoming in the next 50 years probably one of the best nations in the world, or any other reason. But
That's
I
that.
do, yeah, yeah. I think it could have been a lab leak. I think it could have been a bioweapon, but I think it could be those words.
Yeah, and I at the end of the day, I try to be all about results and pragmatic. Like I I personally don't participate in blaming. Um, it's always just like, all right, and how do we steer away from avoidable suffering and steer towards the good. Yeah, I I I I won't say I don't care how like what the origins were. I think that it's very important that if this was a gain of functions lab, that it's like then fucking stop that research, because like that fucking yeah, I mean, all around there's so many things that we're fucking with as humans now that it's like, ah man, there's some there's there's some rabbits you can't put back in the box. Like let's not let's let us not unleash the abyss. I would like to have a life. Uh but um it just seems it's it's so perfectly sneaky, this fucking virus. It's
Very
so
true.
it's the way it remains asymptomatic and then it explodes like that. It just
See, this is the reason why people think it could have been a bioweapon, you know? And this is the reason even why I thought back in March as to, I mean, there's two things, right? It could have been zoototic, as people are saying, from bats and from animals and stuff like that, or it could have been a bioweapon. And when we look at it now, after 1 year of SARS-CoV-2 and now these new variants coming in, it's almost weird to comprehend and grasp as to why we're seeing newer and newer variants, which are more and more better in literally destabilizing the human physiology entirely. I mean, it's crazy. It's as if the virus is becoming stronger and stronger. And how does that happen from a zootonic virus? You know, that's the dilemma. That, like, I always get confused. If it was a zootonic virus, it could have been, you know, solved with the SARS-CoV-2 thing. We shouldn't have had new variants. But why are we having new variants? Why is this, you know, as you said, asymptomatic, symptomatic, confusing kind of data coming out of it? So that's where, you know, people start becoming quote unquote conspiratorial, or maybe to a certain extent just skeptical, hyperbolic skepticism, right? As to, is this a bioweapon? Because if someone was to define, you know, like make a bioweapon, they would make it as tricky as possible. They would make it as tricky as possible. And like another thing, you know, which was that, you know, China suppressing their cases, their number of cases, and how apparently when the entire world was struggling back in March, April, May, June, and July in 2020, China was okay, you know? So again, that's also another, you know, as to what the fuck is going on there. So yeah, this is again, as you said, very, very tricky, very sneaky little virus.
and I'm glad that I don't fixate on that. And I know there's people who really do fixate on those parts of things, and I think that that's like as in that there's I, I I do observe that whenever there is a when someone has a propensity to look to what who outside themselves needs to be fucking scorned more, and like that's the daily directive of like who's fucking wrong here and needs to be punished. Like that's a shitty way to exist. And it's clear that it's like it comes from personal pain. I'm I just I'm grateful that I am not I am not wired in such a way where I look to have um what I'm having a we're having this is a real brain fog experience, everybody. We got our live one. It's an easy word. Adversarial. Yeah. My adversarial relationship at some point, just like I stopped doing any of that in my thinking. I think like at some point in my life I stopped having enemies. uh there's there's things that there are ideologies that fucking super suck, but I tend to think with a lot of things that it's like the worst thing that you can do for ideologies or like or social momentums like the I mean the best thing you can do to fight those things is deprive them of their life essence, which is attention. You know, like these things are yeah the best way you can fight bad ideological fires is by like giving it zero attention. Sometimes you gotta fucking put words together to like to destroy that on the like but we man my brain is foggy right now.
Oh, it's
um,
all good. It's all good. It's all good. Like when you're talking about ideologies, I mean, there's so many ideologies historically present, and maybe they'll come in the future too. Ideology is such a mind manipulative, mind captivating thing. Is that you read something, you feel some sort of like some sort of connection to that thing, and then you just embed it into your mind as an ideology, and then you start following it, and then you start distributing it, and you become affected by that ideology itself. And you were talking about the provision of attention, right? Like, I mean, yes, we should definitely not pay attention to quote unquote ideologies which are, detrimental to the human condition. But again, with the amount of information exchange, and with the amount of data and media access that we have now, it's almost become impossible for you to not think, or at least come across these things on a daily basis, unless you're taking like a complete virtual break.
I
So that's
would
where,
love I do feel so much that my psyche needs a good virtual break, and then like, but then I'm always having these thoughts, and then come back to it with policies. I'm only gonna do at this I'm gonna have certain times of the day where I'm able to look at that. I I'm do you have the experience where you're living right now where it's like relatively peaceful around you?
Oh yes, it's raining. It's beautiful. It's windy. There's cold breeze. Relatively, nothing politically disruptive happening, at least where I am. So yeah, it's good. I think there's only the COVID fear that people have, here in few buildings, in few families. Some because there were so many deaths in India, like crazy. It was almost I'm as if, like every day I would get calls as to this person's gone, that's person gone, and like when I came back home, my parents like just genuinely seemed like almost as if they've become absent to their own humanness, just by listening to all of this on a very daily basis, just by losing literally everyone or most of the people that they knew. And so there's only this kind of weird sadness that is just breezing around. And but there's bliss too. There's people still trying to cope up and still trying to stay happy, still trying to stay positive, either via activities or, getting together and talking. But yeah, I mean, it's where I am at right now. I feel at peace. I feel very good. I feel mentally stable, honestly, because the last few weeks in Tel Aviv were quite chaotic for me personally. And so when I came back home, one of my intention this year was self-love and personal development. And I feel like I'm on that trajectory, because I feel like one of the things that, you were saying that you need a virtual break, I feel like one of the things sometimes when you deprive yourself of all of this socialization and excessive interaction is that you reflect, and you after that reflection, after that painful or positive reflection, you're just at peace. You just feel like a normal human being, normal, mundane, following, what Albert Camus would say, leading a mundane life, waking up, doing mundane things, and finding peace within that somewhat. So yeah, I do feel at peace here. It's very nice.
Hmm, that's good. It's I think often of Duncan Trussell said like there's some poor phoneless fuck by a waterfall has no idea that any of this is going on. Um, and yeah, I do envy the unawareness, and you can choose you can choose to have that. You can choose to live a life in a parochial bubble is fine. It's like it's gonna be a noisy world forever. But particularly this point now, like where we're at a point all over the world, it's very clear in America. It's like, yeah, fast change is dangerous, but it's very important that we make some fast changes now. And it's like that's going to require the most healthy and well-meaning people being vigilant, and who tends to gravitate towards places where there's power to be gained tends to be people who fucking want power. But we're becoming more aware of that. That's good. Um, I like I like to think, and I do observe that there is like a reluctant king or queen, like the reluctant leader who, like, I don't want, like, it sucks to have the responsibility of leadership. I don't want to do that, but God, if it's not me, then it's going to be somebody. It's going to be somebody Trumpy. It's
Mhm.
going to be somebody who's like very, very that there's we're we're always going to be generating those. There's always going to be a selfish child mind that wants to do the thing because it's got to be me. It's got to be me. And I'm not saying I'm going to be any kind of any kind of a leader in my life. I like what I want most lately. What I long for now, like in like hedonically, like what I want to be happy is it is framed a lot by being not being caught up in stories that are always coming down the pipeline. And I don't know where they came from. I don't know whether when it always seems like there's something that there's something that is trying to get me into a to get to get people involved in in its controversy, and that usually comes down to these are the bad ones and these are the good ones, and uh and you intensify that reality by participating in it. And I when I think of a happy me, I think of me that is making my own my own choices guided by what, oh, that's interesting, that's great, as opposed to being hit with a bunch of stuff that is other people's fuck ups, and other people's like other people's propaganda. That is not a happy world for when I'm swimming in the waters of other people's psyche stuff and other people's social momentums. That does not render happy state. And I know that there's a I think that there's a middle point to be that is best, because I definitely observe this is the mature thing that I didn't do in my early 20s. I was super unaware that this would happen. That it's like long term embodiment is so much more effective than this idea that you think you have of like throwing the right dart at the right moment. Like long term embodying something, and and especially if you do that like in a community, and you're stably deciding to be something across time, like that's the most helpful thing that you can do. That's the and it's the most resounding statement you can make, and it's the most politically potent thing I think that you can do. um uh yeah, I think that kindness becoming, and this was said in, I don't know, it was a clubhouse conversation or some, but I recently, there were people saying exactly the words that I've wanted to hear humans saying, that I'd like, you have your personal thoughts, and then like to hear it outside is sometimes like it's like, oh good, humans, we're on to something. That like maybe making kindness, or if you want to say love, conscientiousness, like making that trendy, it's probably what we're going to need to do. Like we're probably need, and when you make something trendy, there's a lot of people who are not sincerely doing it. They're doing it because it's trendy. But when it's something as good as love or kindness, or something as like needed as just, you know goodwill toward to all, like it's okay if that gets, if if that gets trendy and is no longer like edgy cool. That's I'm fine with that. I i in my about to be 33, my 33-year-old self is there is a line between the like the public world, or like what's good to be saying out there, because that's the attitude that we want to have, folks. And like my individual personal life, with my individual, personal friends. And I love that distinction, actually. It makes me feel regretful about times in my life where I thought it was like clear that I just, yeah, you want to be like fucking famous, right? Because that'd be success. That'd be a fucking that being locked into exactly a situation socially that I do not actually want. I do not want to be waking up into a world where I've got to respond to a to a bunch of other psyches noise, like a well lived life, both in the sense that I'm having a good impact and I'm enjoying my life, is not that of I yeah, I wake up into the chorus of like, oh, what's happening? Um, and I want to have friends, and I feel this way of the friends we've made on Clubhouse. Like I feel like it could be such a wonderful, like this religion that I'm trying to create a very casual religion thing, where it's like, well, it seems like we function better when we have something like an agreed upon intersubjective framework of reality. It seems like humans benefit from that. So let's make one that we all agree on, that we feel is cool, and infuse it with a lot of humor, and like it's irreverent about itself. I think that's really important, like, to me. Cause and yeah, I've got a reality. The musical, the festival is one of the things that is that
Hmm.
reality. The musical, the festival is one of the ways that I like to think of the world. Where it's reality, it's a musical, it's a festival. It's for it's for experiences, and it's musical by nature, and it really helps to do musical stuff here. It like you notice how stupid life gets when you subtract music, and how wonderful it is when you do stuff musically. I just went on a tangent
Hmm.
there. But like that's a I think like the friends that have been on Clubhouse, and like I think that we have a real opportunity to get together and decide a reality curriculum that we can always be transforming, we can always be working on together. But like I think it will really bring a lot of benefit to our they just have a lovely life to 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 get together and be be your own Illuminati sort of thing. Like do conscious social, what's the word, social or orchestrating. I'm having a brain foggy, lose the word thing. I like can't one thing that's great about sickness
Hmm.
is the experience of being well after being reminded what it is to be unwell.
Hmm.
That it is a great thing to be reminded that just being okay is fucking great. It's great to just be baseline good. I am really excited to be well again. I'm gonna run and skip and jump and do cool shit.
Hmm. I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. And like your point of, sickness and being in sickness and then coming out of it, we as humans, we're so intertangled with whatever chaos and whatever activities that happens around us, is that we actually almost always forget to appreciate life. And that's why we have epiphanies. We have certain experiences that make us realize that, oh, we're humans and we're navigating to this life, and everyone is experiencing their own subjective realities, and somehow I also have my own subjective reality, and I'm also experiencing the same thing. And so, yeah, like your point of when you're sick, is when you realize how good it is to be when you're well. And so one of the things that Albert Camus, who was a French philosopher, talked about in his book called *The Plague*, which I would highly recommend reading because it is so relevant now with the COVID situation going on. Is that we as humans, we face all these plagues and all these um, like wars, also, and traumatic stuff. We always have these chaotic traumatic stuff happening, and we always come out of it, but we never learn anything from it. We never take anything away from it, and then we find ourselves looping in the same cycle of trauma, getting out of it, trauma, getting out of it, trauma, getting out of it. And if only humans, at a very spiritual level, become content with their own self, I think most of the problems when comes about within civilization as a whole, or within a person, is when you're not content with your own self. Like, this is something that I've realized myself. Like, if you're just not happy, or not, if you don't love yourself, if you're not content with your life, if you're not just good towards yourself, you're not going to be good towards anything. You're not going to be good towards society. You're not going to engage in the civilization in a way. And yeah, even if you become sick, then you become extremely pessimistic. Oh, I want to kill myself, and like life is bad, and this world is torturous, and all those ideas would come in. But then you become well, and you're grateful for a day, and then you forget. But why forget these things? Why not always remember? You were talking about the nostalgic past, right? Why not remember this negative nostalgic past, but only in order to better maintain yourself, to remind yourself that that was a moment in my life where I was not doing okay, and civilization was not doing okay, but now we have some sort of homeostatic stability, and now that everything is good, I can finally allow myself to be happy. It's allowing yourself at a very individual autonomous level to be happy, that would even help society as a whole to be happy. Because like, one of the ways civilization works is upon consensus. And you were saying that before, like, we need to have some sort of an intersubjective understanding, some sort of one intersubjective understanding of the reality.
It would help.
Yeah, that would help. And how would that come about? And so the problem being, us as being autonomous agents, autonomous individual agents, we have our own ideas, we have our own things. And so, if imagine if there's like, everyone has their own ideas, and everyone's ideas are just too dear to them, how would we reach this consensus? We would never reach this consensus. And that's why I say there's always a disruption between the society, because there's no consensus. And so, if only as humans we became we of self-aware, we allow truly ourselves to be happy, truly ourselves to be happy with the nostalgic past, and also the upcoming anxiety provoking future, we can truly, as civilization, become better. But then again, it's the population issue, and it's also so many other issues, that everyone needs to be on the same headspace level to get to this intersubjective understanding of reality, and to be happy. But if anything, it is allowing yourself firstly to be content with yourself, in order to for you to function better in society, to function better in your personal relationships, and also to function well within yourself.
Yeah, I think I I see the optimal, like the momentums that could I don't want to use the word like save us. uh but I see those coming on strong, and I really believe that once humans are like put in the position to flex our capacity for goodness and like we'll surprise ourselves and each other for sure with how what we're capable of when we got to when we're focused on that. And we just had a a period unlike any other time in history where shit was relatively chill for a while. And I don't know if you ever recall the quote of the heart hard hard times soft turtles create hard times create strong turtles. Strong turtles create easy times create soft turtles. So I'm fucking it all. But
No, but matches up. Yeah, it adds up.
yeah, that cycle going, it's like, can there just be an awareness that like vigilance, you always got to be vigilant. That's because that's the state of reality. Is reality, it's always in super flux. It's always like it's I mean, we're on a fucking moldy blueberry and endless space. There's a it's such a goddamn miracle that we exist. And and I don't have the answer of what to do with that. I mean, maybe this because I'm constantly confronted with the momentum of like I'll think I entirely don't care about other metrics that people have of what is a good life, and I'm guided by my own. But that's not really how it works. Every so often, you're always going to be confronted at some point with like, holy fuck, am I fucking living wrong? Like, am I doing the wrong things with my life? Because these people definitely like are like would appear that I am, by that metric, I am not doing life right. And and yeah, and I want to be only I want to decide what my North Star is, what what would be a well lived life? That's a fucking complex question to me right now. Cause it's like I used to care so much about my impact on the world. Um and just assume that that would be good because there's an assumption that I am a good thing. That I am a good thing. So any meanness that I put out there, it's going to be good because it's coming from me. But then I think having such a stark like example for years of like of a guy who's like, this is a person who fucking thinks it should all be about him, and look how much he's making us talk about him, god damn it, and look how effective it is. And it's like, and he's like, I think of professional wrestling terminology, like he's so good as a wrestler. He's like such a heel to the people who want to hate him, like they love to hate him. And he's such a like baby face to the ones who want to love him and they cheer. And it's like he's so effective at that thing of like getting attention. And it made me have a complex about my own like want. I don't feel anymore like I want people's attention. I want an experience. I want a mutually enthusiastic experience of sincerity when it's happening, you know. But like a good example of this now is like it would probably be better for me. It would probably be better by a metric of the internet if I fucking made this lighting situation not good. But then if I turn it up, I'm fucking uncomfortable, and I don't want to be uncomfortable in this moment. I'd rather have a comfortable moment where it's not as good of a piece of media because I'm just hanging out with my friend right now. You know.
Exactly, exactly. And like, yeah, the whole comfort aspect, I've come to realize, like, growing up, and especially like growing up in an era where technology is emerging. When you're first getting your iPhones when you're in seventh grade, and like your Facebook is coming up, Twitter is coming up, and like I grew up in that kind of uh, environment where social media would often like portray perfect lives, perfect situations, and how influences are just perfectionism. And even within cultures and like sometimes within certain parenting styles, perfectionism is always pushed so much that honestly, one of the reasons I feel like the human condition becomes diminished is also because of this idea of perfectionism, that we always have to be perfect, that we always have to be symmetrical with everything, and that always have to be in
Makes sense.
order,
Yeah.
you know?
That things
Yeah,
have to
that
make sense. Things don't make sense. There's a lot of things that are the best things about life. They don't fucking make sense.
exactly. Like I've realized that some of the most beautiful moments that happen when you don't force them. Like, how people try to plan perfect vacations and perfect resort spa and all these kind of situations, thinking that, oh yeah, I've had a workload burnout and now I'm gonna go to Indonesia and like chill for like a week, and like this is all I'm gonna do, these are the places I'm gonna go. But maybe instead of planning that much, maybe instead of constructing your calmness and your restful break, maybe just go with the flow, you know maybe just let it be, like the Beatles. Like, just let it be, like this is something that I've been doing for the past 1 year now. I just let it be. I let the experience enroll. I flow with the flow of life. As things come, I take them, I encounter them. Yes, there are certain things that you have to schedule, you have to pay attention to, because it's a part of your life. But with things which are personal to you, which are good for your psyche in general, I feel like you should just let it be. Because if you get too entangled in these nostalgic past and anxiety provoking future, and perfectionism, and the chaos within society, why are you even living? What is the point of even living if you're just you know puddled in this mess? So letting it be is a good way to go, at least in
Yeah,
my
yeah, but
opinion.
and particularly if, like, I don't I listened to Sadhguru the other day. Said he says some stuff sometimes that's like, it's not always the voice that he's not always I like these voices where it's like, I'll go to you when I want that vibe. Um, but he's saying that the idea of whether humans are, like, asking the question of whether we're good or bad, or if there's good and bad humans, like, it's pretty clear that when conditions are good and we're content, we're lovely and pleasant, and when people are fucking miserable, we're ugly and shitty, and it's like, and as much as we can do to 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 help the circumstances be that of pleasant, but the work of the mind and the stories, like, that's where I would say that that is something that I don't just want to be a part of that effort because it's so fucking necessary right now. Like, I'm okay with the world knowing that, like, at the end of the day, I'm living my motherfucking life, and I will. And if it's a sense of, like, of pressure, you've got to be this thing at this moment, because if you don't, like, the other momentum's like, that's not why I'm doing my existence. I and that's not something that I want to model, and particularly to, if there's a new consciousness now, a child, like, to I really think that, like, what we're figuring out now is, that at this moment in humanity, like, we're getting, like, the overview effect. Like, more of us are getting that without actually going to space and seeing and seeing it. Like, I think things like the full eclipse, I think that helps. Like,
Hmm.
I think it really helps the human collective psyche to know that it's like, it's just it's miraculous, and it's something that we can all have in common of like, oh my god, we get to be aware, we get to exist, and like and have and that being like the starting point helps me a lot. Like that, it's like, yeah, it's a festival. It's like there's I think that we're running the old programs that we can ditch, and I know it's very difficult to let those go, but it's like, yeah, we don't have to like the co- like the way you like looking at a conflict. Like I don't want to open up a whole fuckaroo of talking about a particular conflict, but like when you're outside of a conflict, it's just so different of an analysis when you come from the just I'm looking at this, I'm looking at these at two parties, and there's just like two people, like I've been had a lot of personal situations in my life where I know two people who are really mad at each other, and I know and love both of them, and I get to talk to them separately, and I get to talk. I get to hear what they think of each other, and I got to like, and and I feel like I'm getting better at that. And what it really like one of the biggest things is that it's like knowing that you have time, and knowing and the mature like observation is that we've got to coexist for a lifetime. And you can and you there's totally a thing where you can cut people out of your life. That's a wonderful that's a wonderful option that we have. Gosh, I love that. And boundaries are super duper important. But for there's 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 a degree of coexistence that's kind of got to have to happen here. And I know that that's coming to me a little bit more swimmingly because my psyche is not arranged in a way where there is like a conflict. I'm very grateful of that. There was never my parents, and there was I was never told of an enemy. I was never, other than just like, like there's bad people, but it wasn't a fixation, like, that there's that yeah, I just see it all as steering. Like you're like you're in your kayak, and it's like there's a fucking uh a goose hive, and those goose can get really fucking protective, and they're great to just observe from a distance, but if you get close, they're going to be dicks to you. That's what they do. They're geese. And so you steer away from that, and with love for the geese, continue to be geese, but don't fuck my day up, and life is a lot of that. You're not you don't get to extract things from the world that bum you out. There's tons of people choosing to live their lives in ways where it's like, it's not just that that's not what I want. It's that it's a bummer that that exists, but that's the so my prerogative then is to not be that, not become that, but I don't have to go and 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 I don't have to take. I don't have to feel like there's a ring that I have to take to Mordor right now. I think that's good. I think that's a good way
Mhm.
for the world to be. That it's like there is some fucking there is some in, developing situations that are going to take so much love and like patience and maturity right now in this world. I'm glad that we have that psychedelics are becoming so much more like rapidly understood how they can be used as tools, and I it cannot come fast enough. They're being, I mean, obviously legalized, and but I think that tool is really, if it wasn't for that, I would not be too optimistic for humans sans the tools of just even just mushrooms. Like it is so fucking it it is such a blessing that there's these fucking magical mushrooms that kind of just like I trust that, it does seem like they're an ingestible North Star. Like I had moments in this podcast where I was going through like a wave of I'm feeling a lot of like anxiety about my being sick right now, and oh shit, we're talking about where it came from. That's always like that's a rabbit hole. I don't even want to fucking go. I don't even. And I also don't want to signal to the world I don't give a fuckness about things that matter. There are things that matter that I want to have a humility about. That I am like. I think that there are some things that require a full like a person's full vigor in going into that. I I am not investing. I am not making the choice to be a punisher, enforcer existence in this lifetime. I have chosen my avenue, and I think I can be very, very helpful in the ways of some like and ideas and art, and and with children and songs and stuff. I am not the one who finds out who's fucking up and goes and tries to fuck them up. Like that's not my deal here, and I'm
Hmm.
glad.
Oh no, no, you're completely right. Like you talked about how you can make kindness trendy, and just by making kindness trendy, we can have more sincerity within civilization. I mean, that's a very positive idea to put into execution. And some of which you can see on social media done by influencers, where like, oh, don't wear makeup, you be your true self, love your body, and like stuff like that, kindness. And it becomes trendy, with the hashtags, so people start putting hashtags and posting stuff like that, only because, as you said, it's a trend. And so, just by making it a trend, people become more sincere. But then again, it's also kind of bad that we focus on it only on the aspect of trend, and forget the actual virtue of why we're doing this particular kind act, right? And so I hope that in future people, not even in future, I feel like as we ascend in life, as we go from one year to another year to another year in our lives, and with experience, we actualize the knowledge into wisdom. And that wisdom, kind of gives us this humility and sincerity towards environment. Like I've often seen old people, when I talk to grandmothers and grandfathers, and the amount of like wisdom they have. And us, when we compare, like imagine a 20-year-old talking to a 50-year-old. Of course there's going to be so many different opinions, just because of the generational gap. But again, it seems when that 20-year-old then becomes 30-year-old, that 30-year-old realizes what the 50-year-old said was actually fucking right the entire time. It's because of the experience, right? The phenomenology of life, of like, we go through these experiences, we learn a lot. We learn empirical knowledge, but we also learn practical knowledge, and somehow we need to have like a homeostasis between both of them. um, but ultimately, it is at the end, like when you're dying, imagine if you were to die in the next 5 seconds, right? What are you going to think about most? Are those going to be, oh, I accomplished this, or are those going to be those moments that you actually cherished in life with certain people or within your environment? So again, it's wisdom over knowledge that ultimately, with the trajectory of human life, that counts in the end. So I hope that people do realize that experience gives us this wisdom, and this wisdom is always there. You just need to potentialize it. Like first identify it, recognize it, and then actualize it, and then potentialize it. And when you potentialize it is when you become this better human being, or have this better, or at least like some sort of peaceful mind. And then you were also talking about, how um, you have friends and you have to mediate between conflicts sometimes, how to be a good mediator, how to see perspectives. One of the things that, humans face at a very basic level is that they are incapable of seeing perspectives, and it is because of this ideological biases that we have, that we hold these strong ideas. Okay, if this is this, then it cannot be any other way. But one of the best things about being an open person, like having being high on the openness rate on the ocean model, is that it allows you to truly, be able to see multiple perspectives, because there's always multiple narratives playing around. There's always multiplicities happening. There's not always only one single narrative. There's multiple narratives. And if you are able to, look at all the different narratives and study them or just analyze them, yeah, you'll come into one one perspective that you might like, or you might subscribe to. But again, it also makes you aware, just by looking at all the different perspectives, that there are different perspectives, that this is not the only way, that there are different ways to live life. And so you can craft, your own life, your own method of being, just by looking at all the different perspectives as much as possible,
Mm.
and not by fixating your mind. Because one of the evils that your mind can do is fixate on an ideology, which would be detrimental to your own mental, cognitive abilities, and like just general well-being.
Yeah, I think of recent past, I what I was let the degree I was letting the like I think I will always be a person who gives a fuck about the world and tries to lend in some way. Um, but I've recognized, and 2020 helped me with this a lot, that there really is a finite amount of fucks that you can give. And if you want to optimize yourself of having an impact, then it's not just like you have to like pick a specific lane, but really there is like the most potent lifetime is going to be spent decisively picking where picking your battles, but also picking your focus, but not like getting to the point where where everything else is everything. Not my monkeys, not my circus. Like I don't want to be a not my monkeys, not my circus about so many things. But I if I were to, I do think it's good to zero in on to if but also it's like I want to be honest, and I want a humanity that is more honest about the fact that like like the reality of being a person is like I you can have something that you publicly like fly as a flag that this is how I'm trying to be in the world and whatnot, but like straight up I forget. Like I like as a human I am a distractible child, and I become and I don't decide what interests me. It like something comes up, and it's the thing this month. And 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 the like yeah I talked about in 2020, like I did not steer my consciousness good for myself or others, by my own analysis, well. And now I have a way to course correct of that. um like I think that there's there's something really beautiful that is worth the effort of restoring intimacy, that intimacy cannot be scaled. Like by definition, it cannot be scaled. And to think that you want to scale it, that was a stupid psychological sickness that I may have unawarely had at some point. Like thinking that I could. It's like, oh, I found this sincerity that I can experience with some people, like how do we bring everybody in on this? How do we make this as big as possible? Like, I think it's probably the capitalistic thing of like, how do we get people through a turnstile is probably what that thinking is. But I really, I really want to cherish intimacy in my life. I have decades to put this into practice, and and like there's something so special about having that, like that the inner circle vibes. There's something so special about uh like a group of friends like that we have on Clubhouse. Like that is, I find that so psychologically helpful to have these voices and these and these persons, and I'm so glad to have met you and to know that you're living your life out there, and I'm I'm so glad that we can that it's so miraculous that we can talk now, and it would be really really great to go on adventures and stuff. That's the good stuff of life, god damn it, you
Oh
know.
yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, 100% agreed. I think your whole thing about intimacy, like, I mean, like literally at the end of the day, it's not. Yeah, if you're very empirically minded, you still might be thinking about ideas. But for me, at the end of the day, it's like, you think about your relationships with people, and you think about those people who you truly care about and you value them. And like one thing that I've kind of like recently realized is that to truly have an intimate relationship, a positive or like actual full intimate relationship with a person, you have to fully accept them. One of the things that we do is that when we choose our friends or when we choose peers and acquaintances and stuff like that, we often concentrate or fixate on their positives, and also their negatives. And by looking at their negatives, most of the times we just delete the positives and we're like, oh yeah, this person's probably negative, so now my friend, but to truly be intimate with a person is to accept both the positive self and their shadow self, you know, and to be content with that, and because everyone has a shadow self, because it would be very, very stupid of a human being to think that there's no negative within yourself, that you're just purely a positive being, because as humans we're conditioned to be both neurotic and happy at the same time, like there's both positives and negatives, within us, the yin yang kind of duality, you can say, and to have this true intimate relationship and to truly value a person, you have to fully accept literally every aspect of them, no matter how crazy it might seem, because again, those crazy things are also within you. And most of the times what happens in the world is that we're projecting, like we project most of our own fears onto others, most of our own trust issues and insecurities onto others. And so to truly have this beautiful intimate relationship, one must have to fully accept the every single bodily aspect, mental aspect of the person that you're friends with, that you're in a relationship with, or that you're family members with.
Yeah, that's that and we got that experience with the lockdown, with the quarantine. I I I, I think I got a pretty good one, a pretty good like opportunity that was kind of coerced upon me to like spend a lot of time with myself, and I feel, yeah, intimately aware of my what could be seen as dark side. uh I would just straight up say that it's like my idea of am I a good person or a bad person is just like is just a completely irrelevant. That is just that is not a that's not a thing anymore. It's are we gonna it's a lot about circumstance. I mean, in the circumstances of survivalism, I'm pretty sure I switch into survival mode and I do whatever is necessary, you know. So let's avoid that. Um, like just even just this situation of sickness and you know, like I could go down the I could spend some time thinking about who was who was not careful other than me who ended up in my catching this when I was more on on the careful side, and I could beat myself up about the stupidity of my like, "Oh, I thought I was vaccinated, I was safe." The information was available that people were having breakthrough cases like that. That was very that was totally available to me. And it's good to have a moment where you were stupid and got burnt. That's a good learning experience if you can if it's like I think it's always good for us as humans to yeah, hard lessons are a great thing if they're survivable, you know? And I have a survivable little hard lesson in a lot of ways where I think on the other end of this, I'm gonna be a lot it's very obvious to me how much I'm steering my existence here. And and before 2020 happened, there was a lot of just momentums running for me. Like I think about that timeline. If this hadn't happened, like some stuff would have played out. I would have followed. Probably would have went chasing the rabbits that I was chasing. I would the dangling carrot that I was after at that point probably would have remained, and I would have went chasing that. But now I've really had a time to be like, uh, I have face down. I have just in my own thinking and observation, like I have taken a good look at the potential desolation of the human experience and of my own, and I think that ultimately will is healthy now because I have a good idea of what I'm steering away from, um, and to put it positively, I am so excited now, like the level of excitement that I have to holy shit, I get to live a life. I'm I'm there's so much potential over the coming decades. I'm so excited about the world. I'm so excited about I'm so excited about travel. I'm so excited to be like I love my experience when I'm not thinking of myself as something that has to pollinate my you know, like I've got to go there and spread a message. Like that is not my directive when I travel at all. It's like way more feminine receiving. Like I want to go and be a cup that is filled. And I'll do, do my performances and stuff like that. But I don't I don't have this yeah, my felt inner directive doesn't have this thing that was so obnoxious in my and it's natural the adolescence should be this but like I felt like I've got to go and give the world something. There was like it was very I'm gonna pollinate something good that is me, and that'll happen naturally. I think that'll I mean that's just part of that will just happen as we exist. But I feel so excited to to go and be truly surprised, and I love seeking awe. I'd say a really good individual of a North Star of like living a life that I think is like really I think he's like, living a great life, and I love this guy a lot. Is Jason Silva. I love that he's out there living his life, and I do see that as not his. But the yeah, to be walking around and having some to be walking around in beautiful places and have a thought that is fucking fascinating me. Like that, I could spend decades doing that with friends.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh no, yeah, completely. Like, like if anything, I think COVID taught the entire human civilization was that it raised your self awareness within your human consciousness just to be fully present, to fully live the moment in life, to fully appreciate things in life, to fully accept personal relationships in life, no matter what, the consequences are. I mean, you were asking what is a perfect way to live a life, right? There's no perfect way to live the life. Life just enrolls and you enroll with it, you know? You, us as human beings were autopoietic creatures. We self manifest, we self generate, our own systems, our own reality. And like, if anything, COVID should have taught people that, there's chaos out there. There's political chaos, there's sociological chaos, there's mental chaos, and within all of this chaos, what in the end can you appreciate more, the chaos itself or you, and your self-being, and your relationships, and the purity, and the holiness of having, these beautiful conversations like you and I are having right now, like to be fully appreciative of all of these things, like, I think before COVID I was more unaware and more not in tune with the positive of the realities, more in, like, I was more, I think I was just in a way just not realizing that life is so important, and like these experiences that we have are so potent. I was always just running and work and partying, and like even when you're partying, you're just partying for the sake of partying, like it's just like that. But after COVID, like when I finally went back to Tel Aviv, finally got to see my friends, I felt I felt more present within my own human existence, because I realized that, after 7 months of just staying in isolation and seeing this all sorts of chaos around the world, I realized that life is too short, to just entangle yourself into these pessimistic, negativistic, isolative ideas. And to just be generally polite and kind towards others, just to and these are like such basic lessons that your parents teach you, like when you're kids and you don't realize them, but through experience and through when you grow, and with these kind of encounters, you actualize them. And if anything, I've just learned that even if now I go to parties or to social interactions, to festivals, to music festivals, I try to keep in mind that I'm not doing it for the sake of doing it. I'm doing it for the sake of my own enjoyment and my own fulfillment with what this music is going to provide me, or what this social dynamic is going to
Mhm.
provide me. So yeah, I think if anything, COVID should have, must have embedded appreciateness within, humans and human psyche and human being in general, to be just happy, and to at least, acknowledge that things can go bad and things can get even worse, but we have these few moments, and when we have these few moments, we should truly capture them, because you're going to regret them if you don't capture them, you
Yeah.
know and so that's something that COVID has definitely taught me, and I think maybe human civilization as a whole.
Yeah. And what's and yeah, just that the group of friends that we've made through the clubhouse, uh like, yeah, I'm very grateful to have y'all. And
Me too.
and and to there's such a magic in meeting people. There's such a it's like and it's so it's yeah it it's so important for me. I realize like how there was something about there was a period of my life where I was very solitary in the things that were most important to me. Um and like my fascinations and stuff, and it kind of actually got a momentum of going of being like yeah, you don't. There's the things that I'm most excited about. I don't actually have somebody to talk with about, and that is not true of now. Like I I love that we have friends that are like I if something is fascinating you, I'm fucking really excited to hear about that. And that there's that wellspring of excitement, enthusiasm, because that's what I think we're here to do. We're here to get excited about stuff that, yeah, at the end of the day is dust, and the fucking, like everything physical will be destroyed one day, and we get to have experiences, and that's a cool thing about getting older, is now having a self awareness of like, yeah, you do kind of go through phases there, Zachary. You've had some times where you thought that something was the most important thing, and now in retrospect, like that was a ridiculous mirage that you were having at that moment. Um, and now to like consciously have that of like when these things come up that are the most fucking important thing at the time, is like to not be nihilistic about that. Like, yeah, okay, you're being you like I want to choose to be enthusiastic about things while it's sincere, but also that like I feel like this is given the mechanism now. Like, if there aren't other like lockdown, it seems like there very likely will be more actual moments where society takes a takes a pause. But to know that you can do that for yourself, and you can decide to yeah, to like I think I will always make it a thing in my life now to have like these, give myself pockets of time to just assess, is what I'm doing what I really want, you know?
Hmm. Hmm. You're very right. I think I remember when I was in either 10th grade or 11th grade, our English course had this chapter about, if I'm not mistaken, Ozymandias or something like that was the guy's name. And the thing was basically like, he was a very arrogant, focused, self-focused guy who was like, oh, I'm the king, I'm the god, and he made a statue of himself. But what happened to the statue over the years? It became dust. So at the end of the day, we're all dust and shadows, you know? And so to be hyper focused is good to some extent if you have some creative ideas that you want to leave behind in the world. But to become hyper infatuated with those ideas would just lead you to not live life. It's like you're just like living for these ideological things that you want to pursue, but you're not really living at all, because life is just, you know at the end of the day, it's just like you get lost. You get lost within those, oh, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that. But what about this beautiful air that you're breathing? What about these beautiful people that you have in life? So that's something that Ozymandias' statue teaches us. Is that, yeah, you can be as, deterministic within your own goals as possible, but throughout time and history, it's all going to be dust and shadows. So when you're in the moment, when you're living the life, live it, rather than making it something so chaotic that in the end, when you're having those 7 minutes, when your brain is active, when you're dying, you're just regretting life.
Hmm.
That, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that, you know instead of, I should have, or whatever. Oh, I did. That should be the attitude. And I think that comes with, I think that comes with multiple experiences in life. It's an active, it's an active exercise that we do. It's not like you have just one day you wake up and you're like, oh, today, I feel I'm very good, very good, very good. Next day you wake up, oh, I'm very determined. No, it's like an active exercise, life itself, full of experiences. And so when you reach a certain age, I truly believe that's when you actually, like, you're more, self-aware, you're more potentialized because you've had all these experiences. You've had those moments when you were selfish, you've had those moments when you were truly happy, truly sad, or truly whatever. And then you reach this point when you're like, okay, wow, life is just like a ocean, and we're at the crust of it, slowly swimming, slowly somehow, trying to navigate through it. And yeah, we might dive in, we might actually float like the Titanic. We have the potential of doing that. But why do that when we can just slowly enjoy the crust of it and swim through it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fascinated by what um what the full somatic experience. Like I do think that that's what it is to be like to have heaven on earth, if you want to get all poetic about it. Like the bet is is just to be fully embodied, and that and you know that there is something at work of you that wants to put off the brunt of certain emotions, but the the way to be where life not just can be most blissful, but it just automatically is to let everything that's true settle as a feeling, as an awareness, and then from there you can get to the zen. And also that there's this thing that I'm finding that is like shit, man. Like, like there's things I'm not gonna open up the rabbit hole about it, but like, I follow Yeonmi Park, um, the North Korean defector, like fucking super duper hero, and for a moment there with her, I was like, is there something propaganda going on here? Or is this a really a person who is deciding to be this brave and as an individual, like, you know doing this work? And I like actually looked at for a moment, and I know that there's people who like they go far down that when they have a suspicion of somebody being, like that everything is like, oh, you're trying to move this forward. But I actually, as a absorber of her, like put her through my own critical analysis of like, is this person sincere and genuine, and this is a person deciding. And I do observe her to be, like entirely authentic, and I think fucking super heroic. um that the amount of danger that she's willing to incur to and how much she's like, she wouldn't to me, she wouldn't need to be like waking up every day going and specifically addressing these things to be like leading by embodiment so much of just like, because I just love to I she's someone that I really like. There's some people there, it's like a good follow on the social network of like, it does me good to know you're out there. Like I dig seeing you happy, you know.
Mhm.
And I feel like the more of a choir of that you can have, there is like, once again, you don't want to be scaling intimacy, because it's like really
Mhm.
great when it's someone that you know and that you can talk to, because there's something really great about social network, of that, of just like the moments of real joy, and a bit of, vicarious joy through, like, like, I think that can be really really healthy to have. But with somebody who's like, famous, and also is like doing the thing that I have not really decided what, or maybe I have, but I haven't put it into action yet, of like, the what's the statement that I make with my existence? Maybe I don't need to make a fucking statement with my existence, but like, with her, seeing when I know that somebody has chosen to carry a cross like that. When I go full Petersonian, or if I go full, the Christian mythos of like when I know that somebody has decided to bear a cross in this world, it makes me so fucking happy to see them just blissed out enjoying life. Like, it makes me super happy to see them fucking, if that fucking, felt they need to take a picture of your food, like, I fucking, that's great, because that
Mhm.
to me is like, it's almost like that's my that's like one of the things that my banner here that I have decided is important, is like, enjoy your beautiful opportunity to exist and enjoy things, you know.
True, true. By the way, Zachary, I'm just gonna quickly plug in my laptop because it's at 3%. Just give me 2 minutes. Yeah.
My my brain has been at a low percentage, and by the way, I've yawned a lot during this, and it's because
Hmm.
it's probably like 3 a.m. No, 2 a.m. where I'm at.
Oh
Also,
shit.
also I have COVID. Also, I took a
All
little bit
right.
of
Be
mushroom.
back. Be back.
Oh, man, there's a bunch of comments here. I wasn't even looking. Sorry, folks. I was not paying attention, but there was that. Which allows for adaptation in the face of major changes. Yet we need cohesive forces so society arranges. And and I do think we need a common mythology. Maybe not one, and we don't want to get all zealous about like finding it's got to like be the one. Obviously, there's problems there, but like I think that I want to be a part of that effort of like that's why I'm with the magical turtle thing. It's very very simple, and it's cute on purpose. Like
Hmm.
what is reality? What is biology? It's a fucking magical turtle. It's a turtle. And it's and it and it defines itself by having a hard shell. Like it's it's a soft gooey thing. It's a soft gooey recipient feminine existence, but it has a hard shell because there are seagulls and crabs, lobsters, So that doesn't take away from its snuggliness. Like, I'm a snuggly existence that will grow spikes if I have to, you know. And
Hmm.
and there's something adorable of that in people. I find that, like, I actually like um I find people cuter when when I know that when I see them getting good at fierce boundaries. Because I almost think for I mean, there's different people in different situations of different, like, for some people it's like you could dial your assertiveness back a bit there, bud. And then there's some people where it's like any amount of assertiveness that this person can gain is good, because they're being, too liquid. It's not doing your life well to have it be affected by just the momentums around that, the empath thing. I think that is a thing. I think that there is a thing that is well, there's definitely a thing called empathy. But what I didn't like for a while is the idea of, like, there are empaths and then there are not empaths. It's like, I think, because, like, I can be pretty goddamn empathic. And
Hmm.
I can also be pretty fucking cold. And I do realize that I've developed a mechanism to, like, there are times where I'm all right, close that heart up, because that's fucking dangerous, like, and I'm glad to have that capacity to make that switch. And I so what I do observe that there are some where it's like, yeah, they're really 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 loosey goosey, like the shell. There are soft shell turtles, and having parochial realities where that sensitiveness is accommodated for. I'm cool for that. I think I'm easygoing to a fault in a lot of, maybe, or maybe I don't know. That's my and I feel so that is my North Star, is I don't know. And can that be?
Zachary, I encounter very, very human beings on a very daily basis, but you're one of the most positive, one of the most sensitive, cute, intelligent, generally, genuinely kind person that I've ever encountered. I'm not even kidding. Whenever I talk to you on Clubhouse, in our what's your reality rooms or social rooms or any rooms, I always get positive vibes from you. And it is because you have this positive attitude within yourself. And like just by the virtue of me conversing with you right now, I feel genuinely positive. I know that my day today and probably the entire week is going to be enlightened just by the virtue of interacting with you. And the thing that you said about social media and looking at people enjoying themselves and that giving you happiness, that's something that I relate to too, because I've seen that there's two kinds of people on social media. One that that they share their lives, they share the positives, they share their negatives, and one that are just there just to message and like are completely anonymous and like won't post. And sometimes I had this conversation with a person who was one of these anonymous accounts who wouldn't post that much, who wouldn't do that. It's because, oh yeah, it's because you guys are oversharing your lives, and like you guys are essentially not happy in the end, and like this is all just a mirage that you're painting, and I'm not interested in sharing that, and like not interested in being quote unquote mainstream or quote unquote getting in tune with the pop culture of sharing things. But I think that's not the case. I think when people are sharing things, just as you said, I think we should truly appreciate that the person had that beautiful meal, that the person who visited that beautiful country, posted those beautiful moments with their friends. I mean, personally, even what I do with my Instagram is that my Instagram is like my personal gallery of moments that I've cherished throughout my life, either with my friends or moments, and even like story highlights and stuff like that. It's like the data that I'm storing, that because social media and technology is always going to be there even if I'm gone, but those moments are always going to be there, at least in virtuality. If not in reality, then in virtuality, those moments would be always preserved, those happy moments. And that's something that I appreciate about you, that you also see things that way.
I appreciate the kind words. By the way, do you like go by Sanj? I saw that you had that written. Is that an abbreviation of your name that is welcomed?
Oh yeah, like people call me a lot of things, so I just put Sanj as seems like better, because like people say Sanjana, Sanjana, Sajana. Like I've heard so many people say so many things. I mean, the current pronunciation is Sanjana, but I'm fine with it as far as I know that you're calling me out. That's what I tell people.
Mm.
That as far as I know that you're talking to me, that you're trying to talk to me, no matter how you pronounce my word, I'm fine with it. But yeah, it's Sanj, Sanj. That's
Mm.
like kind of like the abbreviation I use. Yeah.
I like it, and I like that. Yeah, but I always want to know what somebody prefers to be called, and I like it when somebody will say, "Do you like to be called Zachary?" And then it's like, what I would say to that is, if you don't have time for all three syllables, Zach will do. But there's going to be situations where there's two Zachs, and I'll be the one who gleefully takes Zachary. I actually find like it to be like the full Zachary that to be endearing. But and my not just responding because you said kind words of me that I just respond back, but sincerely, I feel like um the most the most potent what is evidence that I appreciate and care for a person is really about time. Like we have, it is such a precious resource, time, you know, and time and attention, and whom I choose to talk to and align myself with. I don't know if align myself with, I don't know what that even means. But yeah, align parallel, like I don't know if we're just like that's the thing that's so cool about this the clubhouse thing what's cool about that for me is that I can go for a walk in the woods, have headphones, and be with friends whilst also having the awesomeness of being alone. Like that's fucking cool. And to turn it off at any moment, like I'll just get
Hmm.
a and I yeah, I love that particularly because it could just be a wave that arises like, oh no, I'd rather be fully alone now, or like I'm not, yeah, I'm not socialing it would be weird right now if I, just walked off. And when you're with somebody, it's like to just like at a moment decide to shut off. But I don't know if it's going with that, but I like the alone with, like, that's kind of like what intimacy is, right? Is that you have the all the goodness of solitude, but you're also have the togetherness. That's fucking
Hmm.
cool.
Oh yeah, no, true, and I think Clubhouse has definitely done that for most of the people. Like the friends that we have on Clubhouse, even I'm very grateful for, because like I feel like, in times when you're not around your actual friends, and especially during lockdowns and stuff like that, like there's a virtue within virtuality, which is that you get to have these cybernetic relationships with people who are also sentient, living in different worlds, different countries, and operating on different frequencies entirely, but you're always connected. One of the things that we're actually, as human civilization, going towards is this hyper connectivity. Like we're always optimizing technology to an extent that we become highly connected, either with information or with people. And it's a beauty, it's a virtue too, because you know w- you know uh, God created Adam and Eve for a reason. God did not just create Adam because he knew that, like, you need people, you need society, you need civilization. If we were to sketch it to biblical times, right? I mean, you need to have people around you. You need relationships, you need friendships, you need enemies, you need everything. You need all sorts of experiences in life in order to understand yourself. Something which is very interesting, actually, that I've been thinking about lately, is that when we interact with people, be it personal interactions or just small talks, or these kind of long form conversations, and when it gets personal, it's like we project so much. It's like just by the virtue of talking, it's like you understand yourself more by just talking to the other person, just, and you could call it some sort of a reactionary effect, like A and B interacting with each other, but at the same time A and B gaining more potency in themselves just by the virtue of the interaction itself.
Yeah.
And so I find it highly virtuous that Clubhouse has been able to do this,
Yeah.
to do that for both of us, that we have our friends that are close to us, that we can call, we can open a social room at any time, and Jake's gonna pop up or someone's gonna pop up, and you can have these amazing conversations, and what's up, what's going on. It's like at one point, I remember when we were using Clubhouse probably excessively, I used to wake up and in a social room with you guys, and sleep in a social room with you guys. So it was beautiful. It was as if what you were saying, walking in the woods, having this connectivity, and yet having the ability to detach yourself too.
It's been very
So
endearing. It's been very endearing to fall asleep in conversation with friends like that. That's very endearing.
yeah, it's very beautiful to be in a liminal state like that, and have that virtue of the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. I yeah. Yeah, I'm very grateful for that. And that's totally a silver lining of the pandemic. Like that was because there was like this time of super inwardness and solitude, and then this way to it literally opened a new dimension of connection,
Yeah.
that and influenced all the other. And it's really clear to me too that how we kind of become each other, like just a little bit, like you're just gonna like just to say that somebody rubs off, it's like, no, it's like there's a really beautiful consensual alchemy thing that happens when two people decide. I love the quote. I don't know where it's from. No one survives a good conversation. Um,
Mm, that's a good
I
one.
I dig that. That's okay. And this is there was one agenda item I had for this conversation, which has now been over 2 hours. So okay, I'll ask it this way: do you think that we as humans, as concept generating monkeys, like, do you think we came up with love, or we observed it, refined it, and put poetry to it to, like, to to strengthen it, like did did we invent love, and if so, um can it seems like that's the North Star, right? Like, to harness that. Now I'm making this a statement. Okay, question: do you think that we came up with love, or that is that a concept, or is that a fucking force of of nature?
I think it's a force. I think it's a latter. I think it's a force of nature because I think emotions are have always inherently been innate, right? It's always been within us, so we can't necessarily say we created love. I think love was always there. We identified it, we recognized it, we actualized it, and we potentialized it with our relationships. I think that's how it works because love is such a, like, at the end of the day, love is such a virtue, that everyone wants, that when you go to bed, that you have someone, or you have some sort of a loving environment and a positive environment, and you have that kind of relationship with a person. So I think it's innate. I think it resides within us, and I think there's moments why I experience which kind of lead us to, oh, love, here's love, identify it, recognize it. Most people recognize it but don't actualize it, and then they regret it in future. But the virtue of love is that when you are able to identify it and recognize it, you should potentialize it to a very higher degree, so that at least you don't regret it in the anxiety provoking future,
Mm,
with the nostalgic past.
mm. Yeah, I think that it's I'm definitely sure that it's worth the effort to, like, to gamify. Like, let's get as much love going on, like that's a good directive. Like, how much love can there be in the world and in my experience? But there's also this thing where, the summer campy toxic positivity, like, yeah, and we're gonna love everything. Like, there's times where that shit really goes asunder for me, and it's like, I uh I have swarming moments of not that that come up sometimes. But it's like this beautiful cycle that happens that I'm never aware of at the time. It's always the worst it's ever been. uh, but being able to then find a place where I forgive and love myself as I'm watching myself start to go down the path of what could be called evil, like evil as in, like, and I just define evil as anti-life, against life. Um, uh, making it worse for the sake of it. But and like, my capacity for self-love has been really, like, it's I feel like so much more potent. My love is so much more potent now that I really face down the the potential for things to go fucking pear-shaped here. And to know that there is yeah, that it's not a thing outside of me that I judge. And, like, when I look at evil in human history now, I'm like, I'm it is not this super externalized, like I want to go find out what those evil people like I'm it's 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 yeah it's I'm coming at that with a humility that I didn't have when I looked at, say, like Hitler, like at a younger version of myself, where it was very just like, okay, I am, it's like just I would just see it as being a fascination with the macabre, or like there's the level of humility, and I'm like, bragging of my humility, but I feel like that's something I've really got going in this little existence now, is like that it is like I'm a humility machine now. Like I don't like the assumption that I am good is not a, a thing anymore. um but I have a clear idea of what is good, and what I want to manifest through, behaviors and experiences, and I have very clear what is the red line, and I just yeah, I look at characters like that as more of a as like as just a tragedy but an avoidable tragedy. Like the reason for analyzing evil people of the past now, or like in evil social momentums, is like is is that it's not just knowing what to steer away from. It's like my agape world love is like at its deepest when I'm actually like aware that like the reality of North Korea, for example, like that exists now. And when I have like my agape world love, and it can actually and can, with everything as it currently is, like that's a that's like the fucking really religious mystical love thing that like it's but if we can find a way to have like the packaging and trendifying love, I also think that that's helpful. That's helpful out there, because if anything, it's just like if even if it's an insincere trendy North Star, but it's one of the best things we've come up with. um
Mhm,
but
mhm,
but yeah, I do I love us, as as humanity. I would say that I really do like love humankind. um but and there are these moments where it comes up of like, uh just recently I had another like huge, like I fucking like was more fixated on what sucks about us and what sucks about now. um and I think that'll keep happening. I think continuing to integrate new levels of the tides of darkness, is
mhm.
like, that's part of what we're doing here. um
True, true. Like, yeah, like, you said that you have a very strong understanding of what is good and bad. I think as us as humans, just, as I said, emotions are innate. I think everyone all across the globe has some sort of an understanding of what every emotion really is, what it means to be good, what it means to be bad, what it means to be arrogant, what it means to be sincere, polite, like all of these things. And like when you mentioned Hitler for a second there, and it made me realize, like, we were on Clubhouse yesterday, we were going through Aldous Huxley's 1962 speech. And within that speech, I mean, dude was a genius. Like, you already realized in 1960s what was going to happen now. And
I just watched a video of him the other day, and it was so haunting how much it was like you're talking about right now.
exactly, like that dude understood that, the discoveries of the 18th century with Freud and psychology and William James and all of these psychologists, they truly understood the power of mind over body. um, and the power of the mind and how it can be easily manipulated if you know the game well. And
Mhm.
so what happened with Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, Genghis Khan, all of these, people, um, is that they were quote unquote geniuses in a way that they understood this, but they used this particular information in the most evilest way possible. They did not potentialize the genius aspect of themselves. They reduced it, and they actually just became the most evilest person on the planet. And the way they did that is that by understanding the fact that mind is the most strongest thing ever, and that there's an unconscious, and then there's a subconscious, and then there's the art of persuasion through which you can penetrate ideas within human minds via Pavlovian conditioning or some sort of psychological tools. You can actually, at a mass level, delude people towards your own ideologies. So that's what happened with Hitler, and all, that's specifically what happened with Hitler. And that's what Huxley said, right? Like back in the 60s. And that's what's gonna happen now with Trump. What we see with Trump and the mega and like all of these things is that Trump understood the mind, the power of the mind, and how you can easily manipulate, people through their subconscious, just saying conspiratorial ideas here and there, and boom, you have a team of people that truly believe in you, are truly willing to do anything for you, to truly create an army. So it's like you weaponize psychology. And this weaponization of psychology is what's happening now. It's what happened before, and it's what's going to happen in the future, and it's actually going to integrate with technology, so it's going to get even more crazier, you know but to look at it from a very positive angle, because I mean, fuck Hitler and all of that shit now, like,
Yeah,
honestly.
fuck fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, to look at it a positive way, if we truly understand that mind is a very powerful thing, and then why not positively manipulate it? Why not positively manipulate our mind and structure it in a way that we become so self-aware and so self-enlightened that we're actually virtuous towards our environment,
Mm.
rather than being in constant conflict with it that we find ourselves in. We find ourselves burnout, stress. Why not manipulate our mind in a way that our environment is benefiting, our personal relationships are benefiting from it, and we ourselves are highly benefiting from it, you know and so, yeah, there's always good and evil, as Nietzsche would say, there's always good and evil, but why not potentialize the good and suppress the negative?
Yeah, I think that inverting, maybe it's not just simply inverting, but yeah, sometimes I think it is like just inverting of the way a bunch of like group evil stuff happened in the past. Like I get excited about that, about like inverting as in like yeah, so it's been a pattern and it works every time. Get a bunch of people together and tell them what's wrong in your life is, oh, we know the culprits, and now by focusing your judgment and scorn and wrath towards them, you're what a weight off your shoulders. It's they're the fucking problem, like that. The scapegoating has always been like what. So what would be the inverting of that? To like actively, like, what if we have rallies, like get people together and be like, that like the things that are really dissatisfying about your life is the control room of that is internal. Let's let's help each other get our hands on those controls. Maybe not would many would say that it's not a thing of control. It's a let be. But like, yeah, like what if there was like rallies for love and that could get fucking really cheesy really easily. But I mean, to me that like I have a clear idea of what clearer than I've ever had of what to do to bring reality, the musical, the festival into the world, and to bring the North Star of the magical turtle into the world. Like I I I think that it's good to have theory and to strategize, but really when this stuff happens in reality, it ends up being unfolding. It ends up being like it's a bunch of being more than doing. But I've had a new wave of like being. I'll have a question about history, and it's all there on YouTube. And there's like hardcore history is great, and there's so many people who have really great in depth analysis and like just like and then like you can just like come up with a certain question, and there's probably a YouTube video answering that particular question about a thing in history. It's like, how did this momentum happen? How did this like what's the particulars of that? And I'm having that a lot now, and but and it's sometimes it seems paradoxical to what I believe, which is that like I think that a lot of like our salvation now will be the newness and embracing that we can fucking scuttle the past. But there's lessons in the past, but then there's also things that are entirely that really just sums up to trauma. It's just like and not to like that's a big thing. That's a very big thing. But a lot of the villainy of the past was just miserable, scared people. Um, Dr. Gabor Mate had his recent documentary. Is it the Wisdom of Trauma? That's a real that I'm really glad that's out there. Um, yeah, it's just good to that has helped me a lot to observe that like what is the what who wants to fucking spread misery, like a person who's like got a lot of that on them, and it can be really difficult to have compassion for somebody who's really got a momentum going of like you know lack of better terms, shittiness.
Mhm.
um but it makes it so much easier, the people in our lives, when people get frustrating, it really helps me to have the frame of really intense, like, nightmare of history, these certain, characters and things, and be like, okay, that's difficult to have compassion with. But it's like, I can have patience with, my mother or father or this friend who's having a rough patch, like you did it. Then you go to them and it's like, oh, these are relatively okay. I can have love and patience for that. For and myself. I would say that I've had recently, but maybe I frame this part of my life of being a lot of like this was my shadow, my shadow fixation almost years, like and now I'm gonna there's a new chapter, a new butterfly phoenix moment that's about to begin. But then also it's like I've been having great friendships and really and been being sincere the whole time. Yeah, I have not become I am not the drone in the guard tower at any point in my life. That's the biggest thing that I don't want to become is and I'm grateful that it doesn't seem like that's coming. Um being forced to have to fall in line in any way.
Oh no, I completely agree. Yeah, I mean, individual autonomy is a virtue too. Like we get influenced by so many factors on a very daily basis. Is that sometimes it gets harder to navigate through life and to understand as to, okay, what elements should I pick up for myself, or what should I integrate within myself, or what virtue should I take from this person. And managing relationships is such a complex thing, because um, to have a connection with a human, to any extent, has a lot of complexities within it. And when we talk about civilization as a whole, um, we can we're capable of truly such greater goods, honestly, just by the virtue of synergy. What is synergy? Synergy is like when you take a lot of parts together, and the sum of the parts are greater than the whole.
Mhm.
And so the emergence is basically what is the greater. And this is something that Daniel Schmachtenberger talks about most of the times in his talks. And so if we see human civilization as that, if we all just collectively come together as virtuous beings, we're capable of such greater things, you know, such greater things. But the chaos and the pessimism and the terror and the almost egoistic motives of institutions, they lead us so much either through media or just by observing our environment, that we forget that even this greater virtue is possible. you know that optimism, we often say that utopia is not possible at all, but it could be possible to a certain extent. We could reach to, like, if utopia was a spectrum, we could reach at least 80% of utopic environment, if we collectively realize the synergy within us and we take the virtue out of it. But again, we as humans, certain folks would not comply. There's uncompliance. So when there's uncompliance, what you can do for your better good is, of course, distance yourself from these kind of people and these kind of ideas. But again, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm that kind of a person who tries very hard to mend relationships, or to genuinely be kind and sincere and polite as much as possible to people. And like that sometimes leads me to not take care of myself, but take care of others more, and just by the virtue of that, I've realized that it's also important to like being an autonomous agent, taking care of yourself first. But again, in order for this synergy and this greater good to happen, us as civilization, first we need to concentrate on ourselves, our own health, so that this synergy is possible. And when we accomplish that, we need to collectively take care of everyone, like everyone around us. And then we reach this greater heights, this greater virtuous utopic society where most of it is bliss, like Switzerland, right? People say it's such a peaceful country, and stuff like that. But if we were to take just like the Switzerland model at a very broad level and apply it towards the entire world and try to reach like this 80% of utopic reality, we have to collectively become self-aware. And I think, just because we've been talking about COVID for some time, I really hope that this plague, that Camus talks about, this plague that comes era after era, at least this one makes us realize, this compassion, this self-awareness, this self-consciousness, towards us and towards others, so that this synergy is possible.
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't know what enough means. Like, is there going to be enough of the good momentums to, like, uh, these? I just see the way my mind wants to frame things is very incomplete, you know, and I've gotten more zen about that. There's going to be a lot of most people are going to be have really incomplete worldviews, you know. I don't know what a complete worldview would be. Maybe that would be like too much to bear, or maybe that would be the most bliss that I could experience would be to have to get to have the most reality that I am shouldering and let settle and then synergize and then exist as that. Uh, that's one of the things that I want from the psychedelic experience of travel. Like, I just see the world of like when I go places and connect with people and like and get a firsthand experience of a different culture, and individuals within that culture who are because I love. There's this thing about with culture. Terrence McKenna, the culture is not your friend, and like everywhere you go, you're gonna find people who are specifically trying striving to be individual and steer away from their culture of origin. And that that produces particular expressions and personas. I'm fascinated by that. I love to see the different yeah, I'm like really what's the word, xenophilic, just like really like I fucking love the experience of encountering other, um and and then letting those boundaries dissolve. That's great. And
Hmm.
there's enough of that to last a lifetime, you know.
Hmm. Hmm. You know, when you were talking about worldview, I feel like, everyone has a way of forming their worldview. Some people see the bigger picture, and some people take intricate details and make the bigger picture, like top down and bottom up processing, right? So it's like it's two different ways of thinking entirely, and making your own worldview or making your own ideas, whatever you want to do. um, I tend to observe a lot. Like, I feel like I'm a more observant person and more introverted person when it comes to actual reality, as opposed to virtuality, I try to see as many details around me, as many things around me as possible, and I would note them down, and then slowly I would see, oh, the bigger picture, the bigger worldview. But then there are certain people who would see the bigger worldview, and then they would, jot it down like slowly. Oh, these are the intricate details of it. So there's two ways to, kind of form your worldview. And I found that both of these ways are brilliant, brilliant. But when we have a worldview, it is also very necessary to not get attached to that particular worldview, just by the virtue of knowing that there's all sorts of worldviews, and that, your own intersubjective worldview is virtuous to yourself, but there are worldviews out there that people hold that you have to respect, because we live in a society and we have to respect the intersubjectivity and the relationships that we have with each other. So yeah, I agree with the having the strong, potent worldview point there.
Yeah, I'm getting to the point where where I'm drifting off to Dreamyland. I think that that's
Yeah.
I think that that's special. When you're talking in a room, I heard you talking about that that the Nazis would have their rallies at night on purpose, because that's where you
Mm.
can speak to somebody's subconscious the most. And
Yes. Yes.
you know, so on a positive inverting of that, I
Hmm.
find that it's really special to have conversations with uh, trusted consciousnesses. Like it's so it yeah the conversation that right before you go to sleep, it that's I find that to be such a so because I'm only capable of ruminating when I'm alone. I don't ruminate with people, you know. I don't get
Hmm.
together and ruminate. Sometimes kinda. Sometimes it can get like that. And uh, but for the most part, um yeah, there's it's it's awesome that we need that we're social animals and we need each other. Like that's cute. And that you'll go that I go crazy from isolation. I found that out fully. Um and and going to sleep with a sense of excitement about tomorrow, that's a really good spell to cast on yourself. Um
True.
and we have achieved that now. It's it's more it's morning where you are, right?
Yeah. It's now it's noon. It's literally dot noon now.
You're about to have a day. I'm about to go to
Hmm.
sleep in this is the house that I grew up in. I'm gonna be here for the next couple of days. I think I ceased to be contagious in like a couple. But I'm going to be on the extra careful side about that. Also, I like a good excuse to isolate every so often.
Yeah, I completely understand. I completely understand. I relate. Yeah.
Well, I'm
It's
gonna
good to be alone.
yeah, and it's good to be alone with others. It's good. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
gonna wish you a happy reality, and I'm sure we'll talk real soon.
Of course, of course. Thank you for having me on, and I wish you happy reality too, Zach. Take
Yeah,
care.
let's do this a bunch. Happy reality,
Yeah,
Sanj,
yeah.
and good night or
Good.
good day. Have a lovely day.
Yeah. You, good night. Yeah.